As Nigeria celebrates the 2024 Democracy Day, marking 25 years of the country's democratic journey, President Bola Tinubu has inspired hope and a sense of patriotism. In his nationwide broadcast to mark the 31st anniversary of June 12, a defining moment in Nigeria's political landscape, President Tinubu paid glowing tribute to pro-democracy activists and heroes who safeguard the country's democracy. The president noted that negotiations with organized labor over a new national minimum wage have been concluded, and the recommendation will soon be sent to the National Assembly for approval. Let's hear from the president.
We lost great heroes and heroines along the way. In this struggle, the winner of June 12, 1993 presidential election, Chief MKO Abiola, the most significant symbol of our democratic struggle, his wife, Kudirat, General Shehu Musa Yar'Adua, and Pa Alfred Iwani, amongst others, sacrificed their very lives. They bravely surrendered their fortunes so that our nation might have a better one. Let us honor the memories of Chief Anthony Enahoro, Chief Abraham Adesanya, Commodore Dan Sulaiman, Chief Athon Wanko, Chief Chukwuemeka Ezeve, Admiral Ndibusi Kanu, Chief Frank Kokori, Chief Bola Ige, Chief Adekunle Ajasin, Chief Gani Udaudu, Chief Ayo Fasami, Chief Gani Fawemi, Chief Olabi Idrojaye, Dr. Beko Ransom Kuti, Chima Ubani, and others who have transited to higher realm. The sacrifices of General Alani Akinriyade, Professor Bolaji Akeyemi, Professor Wole Soyinka, Chief Rab Obioha, Chief Colonius Adebayo, among many others, should never be forgotten. We have negotiated in good faith and with open arms with organized labor on a new national minimum wage. We shall soon send our executive bill to the National Assembly to enshrine what has been agreed upon as part of our law for the next 5 years or less.
President Bola Tinubu's Democracy Day speech there, congratulating Nigerians on a quarter-of-a-century democratic rule, and of course also paying tribute to those who have given their role for the cause, and equally, talking about the fact that he would work to preserve democracy as a way of life of Nigerians. Let's begin with you, Chris. What's your take about the president's speech? What stands out or what stood out for you?
Nice speech, obviously expected. The most important aspect of it, apart from the naming of some of the people that were part of the June 12 struggle, was the statement made by the president that I feel your pains. That stands out. That shows some level of humane part of the president. And he has been saying that most of the time. But talking about June 12 itself, if Chief Abiola were alive and sees what is going on today, will he be happy? That's a question we should ask ourselves. 25 years, and we still find ourselves where we are. Have our leaders been able to deliver on some of those key areas, issues that were highlighted by MKO during Hope 93 campaign? Because they are fundamental. It's even more fundamental because the current slogan of the current government was Hope Renewal.
Renewed hope.
Renewed hope, yes, renewed hope. And I've said it time and time again. The issue is that most of the beneficiaries of June 12, those that are beneficial, our current leaders, 99% of them were not part of the struggle. And that is why we find ourselves. Just apart from the president, who was really estranged, How many of the governors, which of the governors can you name, apart from Ubasani, that is currently in Kaduna State? I don't know. I stand to be corrected, or maybe you tell me. I don't know of any other. That was part of the struggle. Though in the Senate presently, how many of them were part of the struggle? In the House of Representatives, how many were part of it? In the various state houses of assembly, how many? You will see that it's just like the biblical thing that Jesus came to die for us to live. So what happens is that some people pay with their lives and make sure that what we have, the current democracy that we have. But most of the beneficiaries don't even understand. And they are not living up to expectations. But going further, the president mentioned some names, so many names. But I want to just be specific about one or two people that I felt that. I remember, especially in our profession, the president mentioned the news tempo. Yes, fundamental, very, very, I don't know whether you read, I don't know, Dr. We know what I'm talking about. When you talk of tempo and razor and the news, those editors of those papers practically paid with their life. And I have to commend someone like the president, one of the spokespersons to the president, Mr. Bayo Onanuga. He was really enshrined in this. Another person was also Babafemi Ojodu, former senator. He was also part of this. Then our own Dele Momodu, Bob D. I remember I was in my office at the Artists and Promotions of Sony Music in those days. And there was this, Bob D just walked into the office, went up to see my managing director, Chief Kejo Kunowo. And he was so much in a hurry. And he dashed out. And I was wondering, why was it Bob D ordinarily would have said, where is Chris? My aburo, you know, that kind of a thing. He dashed out. I didn't know that Bob D was on the radar of DSS and he was to be picked up that very day. So apparently, I don't know what to transfer. Probably there was something that was giving him or tried to assist him. It was the next morning that I heard that Bob D was already in Cotonou. And from that part, he went to London. So you will see that a lot of people, and also one person again, I would have loved to find his name there, was Humphrey Nwosu. That man, in as much as he was not allowed to deliver on it, but you will see the trajectory that if that election was upheld, it would have been one of the freest and best elections we ever had in this country. So I commend the president for being able to recognize some of the people and mention names, but I hope that the works of our heroes shall not be in vain, which is why the president, when we are talking about the president's delivery, we know his pedigree. We know what he has done. We know where he's coming from. As far as this issue is concerned, apart from being a senator, governor, and the rest of it, this was somebody that would have lost his... If you listen to Chief Segun Oshoba this morning, when he was talking to Ayo at this thing, yes, and he mentioned something. He said himself and the president were arrested and we have been tried. If it was Justice Begoro that finally gave them, that granted them bail. So this is somebody that knows so much, and I hope that is why expectation from the president is so high. I don't talk about the other ones because, as I said, they are not part of the struggle, so they are just there to enjoy themselves.
Well, let's hear from Dr. And you know, a line from the national anthem, which has now become old, talks about the labor of our heroes past shall never be in vain.
Well, I believe with what we have now, we're on the path to rediscovering ourselves individually and then as a nation. And why do I say so? There were certain things we spoke about years back when the alarm bells went off and we started talking or speaking about living a fake life or living on what the nation is actually not generating in terms of income, which largely has gotten us to where we are. That, for me, has been the major issue why it appeared at some point the labor of our heroes past were going to go down the drain. But I see hope, renewed hope at this time. This speech, for me, is very good It inspires hope. It tells us that there is a reason to live and perhaps to stay in the country. It also tells us of the hard parts of staying in democratic governance, having democracy in place. And one of the areas where the president addressed this was the near face-off between the government and Labour. I was happy the way it was handled, because for me, at some point, I felt the government should have cracked down on Labour, especially when they had the temerity, the audacity to shut down the national grid. Because for me, that was economic sabotage. And it's written all over our laws. You can't sabotage the country in that manner and be walking the streets freely. No one would have dared to do that kind of thing under a military rule. Dictatorship even added to it, not just military rule. Dictatorship. It's something that is good for us, because now we are getting to a point where we're able to say, okay, at the end of the day, the government has made Labour to look silly and stupid. And then they are now back to the table to jaw, which they didn't feel they wanted to do at some point. But let me add to that, beyond the fine points, as maybe what I spotted in the speech that I want us to address. The president said he's going to be sending a bill to the National Assembly on the new minimum wage, that there is already an agreement. I have not seen that agreement. I'm not sure Labour has seen that agreement. Otherwise, we won't be at a state where we are still talking of Labour threatening to go on strike, because they are not going to accept 62,000. They are only going to accept 250,000.
Could the president be speaking from a point of view of whatever the tripartite committee had presented to the SGF?
It's possible.
That they are waiting
yes.
for organized labor to arrive, from the ILO conference.
Yes.
And then make a formal presentation.
Yes. That's why I'm saying that we should. That bill should not go out until then, so that, like some bills that had to go back and forth, the president would have signed, you take it back. The president would have signed, you take it back. We shouldn't allow that to happen now, so that we don't waste too much time. Because for me, some of these things, they are distractions. Once you can't finish up a negotiation on time, you are distracted from the work you are supposed to do. The SGF, who was part of that meeting, has a job to do. It's not just solely about negotiating with workers. The Minister of Labour, the job goes beyond negotiation. So many others are involved. So we should ensure that we get this right and on time too.
So get it right
yes.
on time.
The second point is this. The president feels our pain. But we who are really feeling the pain, we know what it means indeed. Things are not getting easier outside here. They are getting tougher. Yesterday I went to the school of one of my children and I had to speak with the principal. And she said they called one of their suppliers because they are preparing for resumption and asked, one close by, and asked for the cost of a bag of rice. Because the person had old stock, said 205,000 naira. Then they felt, okay.
205?
Yes. If we call the bigger markets, we should be able to get it cheaper. And then they called the bigger market where they had new stock and they said it was 240,000. The derica of beans now goes for 1,700, 1,800 naira. The president can't feel our pains like we are feeling it here. It is almost impossible. So, why that point? The president should see to it that our cost of living should go down drastically. It's becoming too high. Sometimes I wonder how we survive day to day. Because it's just, almost getting completely out of hand. How people survive with the kind of price. About 2 weeks ago, a portion of Irish potatoes was about the major 2,000 naira. This morning, it was between 4,500 and 5,000 naira. So something drastic must be done in order to enable Nigerians to remain safe. Very drastic.
Something drastic and, very important, because in that speech, the president did mention that beyond seeing, we shouldn't just see democracy as elections as being the crux of democracy. Yeah. It's only a minute part of it. Mm-hmm. And that beyond political democracy, there is also economic democracy. Yeah. Yeah. And, he's hopeful, really, that the pains that Nigerians are going through at the moment, which I think he assumes is necessary because they had to take some policies that didn't seem to go down well with people, but were necessary.
Let me start from where Dr. stopped. We were talking about the issue of labor. We always have the issue of labor with us, whether we like it or not. Labor is a pressure group. Even in United States, United Kingdom, Europe, and all parts of the world, till today, laborers are still having issues with government. Either the nurses, the doctors, the railway workers, taxi drivers, health workers, it is the same across the globe. And why does it happen? Because they speak mostly for the workers. All of us cannot go to the president and tell him that this is what we want. So that is why we have elected certain individuals to represent us, whether they are doing it right or wrong. So we shouldn't so much blame labor, because if the government has also had an listening ear, then labor, I don't think would have been where we are. Let us even look at the issues as it were. Since the removal of petroleum subsidy last year, what level of incentives have the government given the citizens? We talk of the vehicles, we talk of giving out money to certain individuals. It has not helped at all. People are still suffering, just as he said. I'm even surprised that Dr. has been going to the market for him to know the cost of tomatoes. And
you are right, so you can afford not to go and send the third party.
But it's apt, because about five edition of okra cost about 200 naira now.
Is it even up to 5?
Yes, I'm saying. If you see Atarodo, in fact, I don't know how you people are cooking. One is
maybe 200.
You are saying that. And a bag of rice is more than 80,000 naira. Minimum wage is 60,000 naira. When you give a man 60,000 naira, how will? Okay, let us.
But Chris, the fine point for me is there was no point in shutting down the grid.
Yeah, that's all. No. As far as
outside of negotiation, that's the fine point.
That is given. That is as far as I'm concerned.
I disagree with that completely.
Yes, that is given. But the fact is that let us not throw away the baby with the bathwater. But talking about economic democracy, of course, that is the essence. Because if you have a government and you are not feeling the impact of it, no matter how rosy the government, why is it that the Labour and Conservative, it's most likely that Labour is going to win in United Kingdom in the next election? You saw the Prime Minister came out with this thing. Because most British people are feeling the pace, and that's why they want to vote them out. There have been studies that some countries where ordinary price of bread has led to the downfall of a government. Nigerians are very, very cautious and very, very nice people. I'm telling you the fact. Because some of the things that we take from our leaders here, so that will happen in other countries. I'm telling you, it won't. That is why I'm saying that our leaders must not take the citizens for a ride. They're in power now.
But what is the ideal thing to be done? I know that yesterday on the show, some of the panelists were talking about the fact that it's not just about wage increase. It's important also about infrastructure, having some basic things in place.
That is why I was talking. That's why I was talking.
Those are the ones that will cushion.
That's why I was saying that. I said there are certain incentives that are supposed to be given by the government. It's not just about, because even they give it to
that is even not incentive. It's infrastructure. It's a must.
Yes, because
it's a must.
It's given. If I'm giving, if let us even say they give you 250,000 naira when you're on band A or band whatever, you know how much
electricity costs? About 100,000 in the month.
And then we act in the country such that once traders hear about an increase in pay,
there is nothing that goes up in Nigeria that comes down. I don't know of any. Except probably the plane that we enter, that flies up and comes. I don't know of anything.
But you see, in this case, like I said when I made my first intervention, there are certain things we must realize don't happen as a matter of miracles. It's a process. The CNG that we are trying to do, for instance, is not something that will happen in one day. These are things we ought to have paid attention to 20, 30 years ago.
But thankfully...
Yes, that's what we're saying. But you cannot expect it to be done in 1 year. It's not possible. It's just like you saying you want to build a rail track. Yes, there are advanced technologies now that can do it faster, which we can't do because we don't even have the capacity. Our Jakarta still is not functional. When you see other countries the way we can't afford to bring in all of these technologies now, except we are going to crash the whole country. It's something that will take time. We want to do CNG, we want to do railway. These are mass transits. We want to do waterways, mass transit.
Yeah, but this we should be talking about in over 60 years.
Exactly. So you cannot.
Countries are moving on. Technology.
When did we get it wrong? At what point did we get it wrong?
Leadership. It is leadership.
The interruptions in the
let me tell you, if we have had leadership, let me tell you, there's nothing wrong. That's why when I see some people say, "Oh, let us go back to the regional, we're going to create 6
those things."
Our problem is not the system we practice. It's the people that are practicing the system. It's the people that we elect. The presidential system of government we're practicing is not from US we borrowed it from. Bring whoever there to come here and go to. If we have the same kind of system, it will not work. The fact is that the kind of people, and that's why I've always asked the question: the problem of Nigeria, is it that of leadership or that of followership? Until we answer that question, we'll not be able to get there. Is it that of
I've always answered that question.
Yes.
Both leadership and
followership, because the kind of demand we make on our leaders, they are terrible. When a senator goes to Abuja and comes back home, before he arrives, his constituents, they already know he's coming. They are singing and dancing, waiting for him. He must drop something. That money must come from somewhere. Until we stop.
If he has empowered. No matter how much empowerment.
Empowerment is ambiguous because
no matter because
but then